Hi, good morning. This is a Bitcoin morning brief. This is going to be a fun one. We are on the day of a special anniversary. Thor's been fighting all day, so he's a little tired. He remembers the anniversary well. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Hello.
Hey guys, yeah, we're all wearing our commemorative hats, but it was before Leah's time in the space, so she doesn't have one. We gotta get her one.
Yeah, gotta get her a hat. Samson has a store.
Yeah, and Giacomo, we have you back. Yay, we missed you.
Yeah, I missed you guys. I'm happy to be back. Finally, my connection is better. Temperature and weather are worse, but at least my connection is better. So very happy to be back in this special day.
All right, well, on this special anniversary, Rodolfo, what did you tweet here?
We're having a happy USF Day episode. A year ago today, we all said F you to Central Bitcoin Control. So fork your mother if you want fork. For those who don't know, was when Jihan said that, right? No, Jihan said
Yeah, I think Jihan said that to Mr. Hodl.
That's right.
Shout out
exactly.
Mr. Hodl.
That became a meme, and his name of his company is Antminer, and then it was a meme war and a hat war, and that's how we made this happen.
Well, let's go into this meme war a little bit. So Giacomo, are you able to see the YouTube and which one I just pulled up?
Yeah, it's beautiful. It was some people say that it's all about hash power. Some people say that it's all about independent node count, but actually it's all about memes and it's proof of meme system.
All right, well, let's dig into it before we have a little bit more fun with some of these memes. Tone, also in the hat, can you explain just also a little bit of the serious background of what's happening on this beautiful anniversary?
Oh yeah, no, I think Giacomo and Rodolfo are better suited to explain what actually happened, but basically, for those that might not have been around back then, it was people thought that miners had control, and the users proved that the miners did not have control, basically, and it was the nodes that mattered, and the miners were not activating SegWit with miner activated soft fork, the traditional way that all of these soft forks were being made. The core developers were programming SegWit with an understanding that the miners were going to be happy about it. And then when it was time for launch, the miners apparently changed their mind. And this was so frustrating because on the one hand, the miners were saying that well, we don't want SegWit because SegWit makes the fees very cheap, while at the same time, the miners were supporting the Bcash and the big block forks because they were saying that they were going to make fees cheaper. And it just created this, like, I don't know, double speak world that you really had to be like incredibly simple in your head to go with the big blockers just from that alone. And I'm amazed how many people did.
We can't forget that this was a coordinated attack on Bitcoin. You had two fronts. You had China through Jihan trying to concentrate the hash power, okay, and change the reward system by making big blocks so he could make more money on blocks. And he also had ASIC boost, which was sort of like a cheap patented, and people were not happy about it. And then you had the other attack vector, which was corporate Bitcoin. So you had Coinbase, you had BitGo, you had Vinny, you had all those guys.
Blockchain.info, Bitcoin.com, the media.
Barry, everybody on that sort of business camp wanted to sort of like take over Bitcoin through the 2x fork. And they actually took over the fight against SegWit, the fight against USF from Jihan, and it was sort of an intertwined maze of scammers. and then Shaolin Fry, the hero we don't deserve, made the BIP 148. That was sort of like a forced user-activated soft fork, where essentially is where all the people who have validating nodes, right? So non-miners who are nodes, validating nodes, relaying nodes, go and run the software before the miners are running it. So if the miners mine a block that does not match the validating nodes, the user nodes, those blocks don't get relayed in the network, they get rejected by the nodes. And that's kind of how we made this happen. Satoshi was very clever, and he put this in the code to begin with.
Giacomo, I pulled up actually the official website at uasf.co, and then and also the Git. Do you also want to just dive in a little bit more to specifically what was happening, the dev work?
Well, I think that Tony Rodolfo already made a good job in explaining the situation. I will just emphasize the fact that when Satoshi did create Bitcoin, there was no open point regarding validation. Every kind of previous experiment, like eCash or B-Money or Weidi's experiment, Alfini's experiments, in every case, every user was already able to validate by themselves the rules of the system. The only open problem was the chronological order of valid transaction and the problem of double spending. So when Satoshi unified the proof of work concept from Hashcash with the idea of the blockchain, the only solved problem, the new solution, was to create a way to find which of the valid transaction were before and which of the valid transaction were after. So basically to create a consistent history in which everybody can agree on the same valid history. So proof of work and blockchain are a strategy to select the meaningful valid chain, not to select which chain is valid and which chain is not valid. So the validation, the valid or not valid part of Bitcoin is all already easy to check by your own full node independently by any hashing power. Hashing power is necessary just to order valid transaction. So in general, rejection of any kind of big block hard fork, and specifically the UASF in order to activate SegWit, was a live demonstration of this fact, of the fact that users alone can define the validity rules. Of course, that doesn't mean that everybody can change any rule without consequences. If you change the rules and without all the others, you got an altcoin, and you are left alone on this altcoin. So nobody can change rules alone. Only the overwhelming majority of people can switch the economy on different rules, and miners do not have a special privilege on this. Actually, when UASF came out, I was pretty much skeptical about specifically BIP 148. That's because this specific UASF was surely virtuous. It was surely a way in order to overcome an update sabotage by miners, by miner Isaac production. Actually, it was also a political signaling. So it was important to activate SegWit, because the reasons to not activate it were not technical. There was no knack inside the development debate. There was always an agreement among developers, and there was only a political attempt to sabotage it. So it was important to fight back. But the same mechanism that made BIP 148 possible is potentially risky, because it could be used for negative soft forks like blacklisting and stuff like that. So I was a little bit scared. The proponents of BIP 148 were telling me that the goal was not to create a split, but to create a game theory incentives to avoid the split, and they proved to be absolutely right. So I had no reason to fear, because UASF worked by not activating, because it created the condition for other people to activate the normal Segwit BIP first. So it was a very, very instructive, educational thing for me.
I guess what you didn't look from the public is that before a large group of people sort of put out BIP 148 publicly, we seeked consensus through back channels, right? So we found as many people, we went and people flew to mines to talk to miners. People sort of there was a large group of people that sort of like an infection. We were all sort of going around and trying to get like a consensus, because consensus is very messy and it's not sort of like an obvious thing. So we went around and tried to get as much consensus as possible in private before this whole thing went public. And then we tried to get the public support as well to sort of join the fight to keep Bitcoin from central control. It was extremely grassroots kind of deal, and it was quite fascinating to watch consensus happening that way.
Tone, follow up to The Voice and your involvement with this fun fight. You're muted.
All right. I joined that fight a little bit later because I was busy as usual with traveling and doing the TA shows. And it took me a little while to like fully sit down and understand what the hell was going on. I remember when I first heard of the user-activated soft fork, it was at the end of February. I was debating Roger Ver over at the Anarchapulco event. I debated him, then Johnny Dilly debated him. And like the message boards, like the idea of the user-activated swap fork had just come out that week. And everyone's asking me about it. And I had no idea what UASF even stood for at the time. And I think that picture, the picture that I'm using as a thumbnail, that was taken in around June or something, but or maybe May. So around March, May, I came around to the user-activated soft fork side. I understood what this was all about. And it was, I mean, we were fighting for the right thing. And the odds were not with us. It was literally the people against everybody else. It was like a handful of, hardcore Bitcoin purist companies against everybody, against the exchanges like Coinbase and BitPay and like was mentioned earlier, Barry Silbert, against most of the media, against most of the miners, if not all the miners, and the people won, which is great.
I mean, the reason why we won is because all the devs, well, not all the devs, but most of the people who actually do Bitcoin and make Bitcoin happen supported this, right? So you want to make sure that all the smart people go with your fork.
Right.
Because otherwise you end up where Bcash is, where it's like, they have one dev and no people.
On that point, Rodolfo, can you explain your tweet here, which I believe is in alignment, the 900-node signal, support keep growing, which was in 2017.
The way we did it was because, the core devs are fairly fair and conservative with new releases. It wouldn't be right to get core to change the release of the Satoshi client, right? With this change. So what we did was we released our own Satoshi client through this website, and we asked that everybody that supported it to run this new client that already supported SegWit in it, or had the activation code for SegWit in it, and then we were able to monitor, right, how much of the network was falling with us, and it was fantastic. We got to like 90+%, and I was like, boom, switch the key at on August 1st.
Of course, this kind of metric created, if you can get back to the chart, this kind of metric created a little bit of confusion in some people because this is a metric which is easy to falsify. So in this case, it was used honestly in order to signal support by validating nodes of economically relevant players of the network. So I am this service, I am this Bitcoin hodler, and I'm running this version. So that was a signaling mechanism to coordinate, to signal our readiness to stay with the UASF. But if you just want to show off a random number of nodes, it is trivial to actually fire up AWS nodes and to pretend you are running something. And that's actually what many other Bitcoin for proponents started to do with Bitcoin Unlimited, Bitcoin XT, Bitcoin Classic, and even now with Bcash, there is people that is trivially faking these numbers. So this is a kind of metric which is very useful if you assume a coordination effort by honest parties, but it is not a Sybil resistant metric. So you can use it, especially at the beginning, where people start to, when we start to count each other. But when there are some malicious actors that want to mess up with this metric, it's pretty much easy to mess up with this metric.
I think.
Hey, can I?
Yeah.
Sorry, can I steal screen share for a second? I want to piggyback on something Giacomo just said. I tweeted this out. It was a very popular tweet. When did this go out? This went out around March or something like that. Around March of, there it is, yeah, till March 2017. And I was just pointing out that this was the third effort. The green, well, the green is the Bitcoin Unlimited, and the Bitcoin Unlimited kind of migrated into Bcash. So this is before Bcash. But I basically took a look at the price of Bitcoin and the amount of nodes for something like, first it was Bitcoin XT in blue, then it was Bitcoin Classic in purple, and then it was Bitcoin Unlimited in green. And you can see how every time there was, whenever there was a rise in these in these weird nodes, the price of Bitcoin would just crash. And then as these nodes, went away because the effort was defeated, the price of Bitcoin was going up. Then again, here in purple with Bitcoin Classic, as it started to rise and the movement started to pick up, the price started to fall significantly. And once the nodes crashed, price went up. Same thing here. Bitmain announced that it was going to support Bitcoin Unlimited. The number of nodes started to rise. They started to rise in the media, and the price of Bitcoin would dip. This is where Vinny Lingham panicked and said he sold 90% of his coins, that it's going to 300. And then there was one day where Bitcoin Unlimited nodes crashed because I don't know, somebody didn't pay the bill at AWS, and I don't know if you guys remember that day. And that signaled the bottom in the price of Bitcoin. The world realized that it was all bullshit. It wasn't a real effort. All the nodes were fake. That marked the bottom in the price at around like 915, like $900, and then we went off to 20,000 straight.
Yeah, if you go back to the other chart, I think like two things. It's very important what Giacomo brought up. It's very easy to Sybil nodes and say that you have majority of the network. But the key here is, and why USF was so successful, is because we married both the signals of node count plus validation in the public, right? So people on Twitter were vouching for the fact that they were running nodes. So you could see that that was true. You could see it was real people running nodes. So that's one important thing. And two, that I think I almost forgot to bring on, is that a lot of the pressure for 2x came from Jihan and its proponents spamming the network and making fees unbearable. By the time we were close to the to USF happening, I mean, the fees were insane.
Giacomo?
They were insane.
Giacomo, follow up?
No, yeah, I agree with Rodolfo. The real thing is that in this case there was an effort to try to understand who is going to run this, which service and which developer is going to support. There was also like the list of developers and companies supporting Segwit and UASF, and my company was part of that list. And some many core developers were in general supportive towards UASF, but not supportive toward BIP 148 specifically. So it was a very interesting dynamic, and I agree with Rodolfo. You cannot use node count as a trivial metric and as an absolute metric. You can use it combined with public announcements and public endorsements by relevant parts of the economy. And basically, consensus, as Rodolfo said, is a very tricky thing, and it's evident only ex post. When you so it's all a very advanced game theory about consensus, because ex post everybody can understand which one is on the main chain and which one is not, and that creates an incentive in order to align everybody on an all or nothing situation. So either we know that we are all on the same page here, or we will not go along. So it's not like there's not like a 30% of the economy moves there. If we realize that 100% kind of the economy is there, we switch. Otherwise, nobody will switch. So it's a very, very binary thing at the end.
Thank you, Giacomo. Tone, Nick reminded me today, thank you, Nick, that right, regarding Bitcoin Cash, it is the anniversary. They are at $13 billion market cap, out of thin air. Obviously a success. You love Bitcoin Cash. Can you speak to, we have Roger Vera up here. He was very, very humanitarian when he made this speech that, babies are dying and they are going to help. So please talk to us about this.
I'm actually want to pull up the chart of Bcash now, but yeah, I think there was another tweet that showed the hashing power between the two. I don't know if you have that handy or the chart. Oh, we should go back to those.
Oh yeah, there's a good
one. Gold.
Wait, hold on. Oh wait.
Well,
there we go. No, I don't think I do.
Oh, you didn't pull it up?
Rosa Parks one.
Which chart are we looking at? There's a lot of tweets we got going on up here.
Yeah,
okay, close that one.
There's too many good tweets. No, there was one. It was in our green room chat, the one with the two lines of hash power between Bitcoin and Bcash.
Let me find it.
All right. So in the meantime, let me pull up while you're looking for that. Let me grab screen share. I got it. I want to pull up a chart of Bcash and take a look at their history. I still don't know what their ticker is because some exchanges still have BCC. Makes it very difficult. Yeah, I always struggle to find it. Here it is. This might be it. I want the one with where I've drawn like lines and stuff. Whoa. Invalid symbol. Yeah, how do people believe in this garbage? Like I can't even find it. Like my old charts can't even find this thing. I don't know where.
I got it, Tone.
You found that tweet? All right, hold on. I'm still looking for the price chart. I don't know. This was the chart, but they changed tickers, so I don't know. I don't know what to do. This is like, I don't understand. Like, are people this dumb? Like, are they really this dumb? They have to be, right? BCH, BTC on Bittrex.
I mean, one of the good things about Bcash airdrop was, it's good free money for hodlers who won't need to pay taxes or, need to buy things. Bcash is great for that. I hope you were able to dump yours at the right time.
Yeah, when did y'all sell yours?
I mean, I way before this, like this is not my full history. Like they changed shit. Like I don't even know how to chart this damn thing.
They did that on purpose too.
Wow, this is so frustrating. Who had it first? Like I want the history. Like I don't even have history of trading.
You want me to pull up the hash rate while you figure it out?
No, I got it. Here it is. I'll tell you exactly when I sold mine. So I thought this thing was going to be worth about $1 within the first 48 hours. And when I realized that wasn't going to happen, I stayed up 24 hours in order. It didn't work. When I realized that I was going to be wrong on my $1 within 48 hours, I frantically stayed up all night. And I believe I sold all of my B trash right on this candle, weekly candle here. So if I go back to daily and I go back to the beginning, I mean, I was able to sell all of mine in like 2 days because, again, I'm broke. I don't have that much Bitcoin, so it wasn't hard. I think I sold it over here because it was the second week or something. So I sold it here. I averaged about, might have been right there on this peak here. I sold all of my B trash on the first week of August, at the end of the first week of August, and I averaged about 0.1 Bitcoin per Bcash. So I sold at a 10% premium, all of it, every single thing, every single private key I could find. And as of right now, I made money. Right now, the price is a little bit lower than the price I sold it at. I think I averaged just above 0.1.
Great. You actually showed on air, oh, sorry, gentlemen, Jimmy, how to sell and when to sell it. That was a pretty cool one. Giacomo, were you about to say something?
Yeah, just that I would like to disagree a little bit with Rodolfo about the fork coin or airdrop dividend. It is true that when there is a fork, when there is a like an airdrop of an altcoin like Bcash and other, you get money if you dump it. But that's not like it's not that everything is so easy, because first of all, the wealth which is contained in that altcoin is arguably stolen from the overall Bitcoin market cap. So if you didn't have that altcoin at all, then that value will be inside the Bitcoin chain and the Bitcoin asset. And for network effects arguments, we could say that probably one Bitcoin with 100% of wealth will be valued more than one Bitcoin and one altcoin, which is dividing 90 and 10, because with network effect, when you have more on the economy on the same thing, you get more than divided economy. So, so overall, it's not that creating an altcoin with airdrops is an activity that produces wealth. But the interesting thing, and in this I agree with Rodolfo, is that it doesn't produce wealth. Probably every altcoin airdrop destroys a little bit of general wealth, but it redistributes the wealth between the initial altcoin promoters and the and the die-hard Bitcoin holders. So we didn't make money out of nothing with the creation of Bcash. Probably we have lost some money overall, but we did basically bet against Bcash promoters, and in the long run that will make some of their Bitcoin ours. So overall, yeah, it was fun, of course.
Yes and no. So, you know, I mean, ideally, of course, we have one coin to rule them all, and that's what I want, and that's what I believe it's going to end up happening. But, you know, the world is not perfect, and people will try to fork it the same way we essentially forked fiat, right? You know, we did create a lot of value when we forked fiat. And I think that you could make the argument that you do take some value out of the original chain. However, I'm still skeptical on how to measure that and how much of that is really true, because unfortunately, the forks will attract a lot of suckers who will normally carry the bag on, and they're it's not like they were selling Bitcoin to buy Bcash. This new sort of like these new bag holders are probably coming from fiat into Bcash. So overall, they are bringing more value into the crypto sort of like whole space. I guess you can make either argument. It's just I can't calculate either way. So I still like, you know, I'm never gonna like be unhappy about getting more money.
I agree.
Yeah, I wanna add something to what Giacomo said. 2 points on there. I kind of lean towards your side on this one, Giacomo, but I will also add that everyone complains how there's this wealth disparity, right? Like, well, only a few people are holding most of the Bitcoin, and these forks continue to separate, you know, Bitcoin from the ignorant people and giving them to the smart people, right? Like, I am generally okay with that, but I do want Bitcoin to be as distributed as possible because I want the world to be a better place. And when these forks like Bcash come out, the people at the top are already rich, and they are basically making the incompetent people in the crypto space believe in these shit coins, and at the end of the day, they're going to make them poorer. So that's one thing that's also not very good with these forks. Another thing that neither one of you guys have mentioned, like I had, you know, Bitcoin in cold storage for like 3 to 4 years. I had zero intention of ever moving for like the next 10 years, and it was going to be like completely anonymous, and I had to break that. And that's a potential problem. If you thought you know, went through all the steps and you put your Bitcoin away before all of these Chainalysis companies ever existed, and now you might have, you know, doxed yourself unless you are a complete expert, and most people aren't, including myself.
I completely agree with this. I was proposing many people to not split and dump Bcash, precisely because of the security and the privacy, especially privacy implication. Many people basically consolidated a very, very fragmented UTXO set into 1 or 2 transactions toward an exchange with name and surname in KYC verified accounts. And so they basically tainted all their money that maybe they accumulated with free interaction over years. So that was terrible. And some other people maybe compromised a little bit the security of cold storage, because you cannot in panic take out your cold storage keys and hope to be as perfect in security procedures as when you are quiet. So yeah, I think that's another positive negative, another net negative effect of an important, successful, economically successful altcoin airdrop like Bcash. I agree with you and with Rodolfo that a net positive of any altcoin airdrop is to separate idiots from their money. Like a total net effect of Bcash could be at the end of the next year or the next 2 years to make Roger Ver less powerful economically, and that's a great success. I think that Bcash should be praised for that effect. It made Roger poorer, and that's great for everybody.
I think that's one of the best outcomes of all of this. I just think that we can't forget that, you know, these things would never be perfect, and there's always going to be attacks. So, you know, it's kind of making lemonade here. If you know, it's their choice to make a fork. So if we can find a way to monetize and extract value from their stupidity, we should, and we should reinvest this value either through hodling or supporting development and new products in our chain, which is the true main chain.
Thank you. Hey, Giacomo, Tone was talking about this before. We have it from Whale Pandas, the hash rate. If I could bring it up really quickly. So we have it here. And just to say, can you discuss what's going on?
Yeah, so basically, one of the real, not, I would say, not intelligent, not smart, but at least scientifically interesting evolution of Bcash was not block size at all. Block size increase was totally uninteresting as from a scientific point of view, but the emergency difficulty adjustment change was and proved to be scientifically interesting. Basically, Bitcoin has a mining difficulty that adjusts itself every 2016 blocks, which is kind of a large period of time. So if you assume that, for example, the Chinese government managed to destroy 80% of the ASICs running in China in one night, Bitcoin will recover with reducing difficulty, but it will take a lot, because you will have to wait for on average 2016 blocks, and these blocks will not come very often because of the decreased hashing power. And even when the adjustment come, it's not like an adjustment from 100 difficulty to 30 difficulty. It will be an adjustment. There are strict modules that you can do in order to reduce the difficulty. So Bitcoin is very conservative as for the difficulty adjustment, which could be maybe it has reasons. So there are reasons to do that, because it's harder to fake, harder to tamper with. But there are also negative effects, which is Bitcoin will take a lot to recover from a huge drop in hash power. Like Bcash instead, in order to survive, because no miner, not even Bitmain, was going to waste a lot of money into mining something stupid like Bcash. But they did this very fast difficulty adjustment algorithm, which basically created a situation in which in Bitcoin, in cryptocurrencies in general, profitability follows price and hash power. When the price rises, then the mining is more profitable, but then hash rate rises as well, and then difficulty rises as well, and then you are not profitable. But there is a lag between these three events. With the difficulty adjustment of Bcash, the lag between the second and the third event, so between rise of hash power and difficulty adjustment up, or decrease of hash power and difficulty adjustment down, was basically reduced so much that it was convenient and it was profitable for a while for miners to switch from Bcash to Bitcoin, and from Bitcoin to Bcash very smoothly. Of course, that was not sustainable, even because the block production on Bitcoin was a little bit affected by this. But the block production in Bcash was completely unpredictable, and you cannot rely on such a system. Also, in the long run, it was easy to coordinate attacks based on emergency difficulty adjustments. So it was an interesting experiment. I think that this is one of the reasons that Bcash survived at all, because otherwise, using the same proof of work of Bitcoin, you are screwed without a trick like this. And it also allowed Bitcoin Cash or Bcash to arrive to overcome Bitcoin's hash rate itself for a little while. But of course, then realities always come back. I mean, you cannot fool reality. You can just hide reality for a while. And as you can see from this graph, it was nothing sustainable. It was like a pump. It was like a hash rate pump and dump, actually. And it went on for a while, especially at the beginning of September 2017. Then the last flippening or floppening was at the end of November 2017. And then the trick grew old, and also Bcash changed their emergency difficulty adjustment to a more sustainable and less tricky one, which decreased this kind of trick, but also became a little bit more difficult to attack. And so right now, in the long run, I mean, long run is the great vindicator of common sense and logic. In the short run, you can have every kind of irrational shit going on. In the long run, you see trends that are more representative of the underlying rationality. And so this is a typical example of this graph. I think that in 5 years from now, or maybe a little bit less, I hope, we will see Bitcoin dominance index like something like this, like a lot of craziness in the short run, and then in the long run, you get a clear picture of what is worth something and what is not.
Thanks, Giacomo. Rodolfo, comment?
Oh, yeah, I was just going to bring it up, the emergency difficulty adjustments, which it really is the proof that Bcash is a scam, right? So it's a minor scam. First, they got the users into it, so they have suckers to buy it, and then they just keep on massing with the hash rate because their algos don't work, right? Like their economics does not work. So they need to do these emergency adjustments so that the thing can continue. The same way Ethereum doesn't work, and they need to sort of like figure out ways of doing the nodes in some other way. It's like Bitcoin is the only chain that the economics of it works. And that's why we never have to tamper with it. We never have to touch it. It just runs.
Thanks. And Tone, last comment, also to the point that we covered the news story when it broke of the collusion between Bitmain and Bcash burning profits. So I did find that kind of interesting. But what are your thoughts on what's going on? And then I think we're going to transition to a new story.
No, I mean, this chart makes it pretty clear that Bitcoin hash rate continues to go up, and Bcash is just stuck down there. And eventually it's going to die, like all of these other coins. It's just riding this altcoin wave. And this might be, we might only, I think this anniversary day, August 1st, will be the only day we cover Bcash. I'm trying to give it as little attention as possible. I turned down all debates. I mean, I know I did one in New Hampshire at the Pork Fest event, but I'm trying to completely ignore this thing exists, because the more attention you give it, the worse it is. I just want to close out with this comment, something Giacomo said. People continuously underestimate smart people thinking together continues to be generally underestimated, and I believe for two reasons. One, there are very rare occasions where smart people get it wrong. These are anomalies. That's not the norm. On the flip side, there are very rare occasions where someone that was perceived as not smart or like a dropout or a loser gets something revolutionary completed. Those are also anomalies. Those are not the norms. That's not how the world works. So I forgot if that was Giacomo or that was you, Rodolfo, that said it, that when the majority of the core developers were not even remotely interested in a bigger block and doing that side, that was going to be the winning side, because the people understand that you have to stick with the smarter people. And I'll just make one analogy for that. I mean, I'm not recommending this show. I've only seen a couple of episodes. This show called The Expanse. It was like a sci-fi show. I don't know if anyone's watched it. But there was one interesting thing that was said in that whole show, probably the most biggest thing in that show. And I hope the writers realized it, is the premise of the show takes place in the future, and Earth is going to almost war against Mars, because what happened was Earth colonized Mars. And how do you colonize Mars? You sent the smartest scientists to live on Mars in these domes. So what's the end result? 200 years later, when you ship off all of your smart people to Mars to live in domes, they're going to come up with the best technology, including weapons. So it's Mars has no atmosphere. They have no water, but their people are in a better position to fight Earth with all their resources because you shipped off of all of your smart people there. And the Earth knows it. So I thought that was the most interesting takeaway from that show.
It's a great show, by the way. If anybody's watch it, it's called The Expanse. Now, what I call this is proof of brain, right? That's what Bitcoin has. It's proof of brain. You can actually check. Go check the commits. It's the smartest people I know. Not all of them, but some of the smartest people I know are working in Bitcoin. It's truly fascinating how much brain power goes into this. yeah, it's I'm always mesmerized by that.
I completely
Oh,
agree.
sorry.
Yeah.
The Wi-Fi was going a little slow. On that, very funny,
Wait,
guys.
Giacomo, you said you agree, but let's make it quick. It's price time.
Well, actually, I have a very contrarian opinion on Einstein, but it's not the case to bring it on the show because I don't want to start a physicist flame or anything. Anyway, I would like to point out that the expense is the only entertainment thing that Peter Todd likes to watch and discuss with me. He never watches any kind of TV show or movie except The Expanse, because it says that this is very good hard science fiction.
Yeah, no, it's truly fascinating. The fact, I'm sorry, Leah, we're gonna take a little.
I had no idea anyone else had seen this show.
Listen, you know, the fact that they explained the Epstein engine on that thing so that they can create the whole storyline around that is everything. Like,
Yeah, or the deceleration, the fact that they have to rotate the ship for the deceleration.
They
Okay.
create the proper fake exaggerated science to support every single claim with full logic. It is fascinating.
Okay, to be honest, I thought season 1 was good, but after that, I think the show went kind of crappy.
Fine.
It
All right.
went a
I'm
little
jumping in
too far.
with a question. And no, I have not seen the show, and you guys are utterly hilarious. I won't say ridiculous. One, funny because Tesla earnings came out today, so you'll have fun with that. Two, my good friend from the Forbes 30 Under 30 actually was at 23, was in that first dome in Hawaii, 30 feet across, that for, I believe it was like 11 months, to simulate if people could live and how it would be going to Mars. Question, I'll start with you, Tone. Would you have joined that experiment?
Would there be internet in the dome?
There is internet in the dome. Yes, she was allowed internet, but you're not allowed outside the dome. No people in or out besides your team. 30 feet in diameter for almost a year.
As long as the food's good and the company is good and internet's there, I totally do it.
Food is not good, man.
Okay, damn, that's a problem.
Giacomo.
Internet, if you're really in space, it would probably have some lag. So I'm not so sure that maybe it's as good as here. And after 1 week in the mountains with very good food, but with very bad internet, I would probably, let's say when I was 16, I would have been totally for it. When I will be 60, I will probably be totally for it. Right now, I'm like in a more social attitude for the first time in my life. So maybe not.
Rodolfo, sounds like cold storage. Actually, I don't think anyone.
I have a tiebreaker. Are you going to be in there with me, Leah?
So, yeah. So here's the thing. If you have ever been in a room with a lot of smart people, you know that it has an expiry date. Because a lot of smart people together cannot be in a room for too long. Okay, so that's
Right.
one. And two is, you know what? I'm waiting for they making the dome bigger.
Okay, all right. Well, we know where you guys stand. We are going to skip over these other two stories today, people. Simply put, I was going to mess with Giacomo a little bit, who has become the expert in the world on assets on the blockchain. So ask him all the questions you want after this show about the recent story that came up on gold on the blockchain, please. Okay.
Yes.
And then also CoinMarketCap launched an API. But Tone, to the story here, a lot of people have been talking about futures. And so this Medium post is saying that 415 million elephant in the room, OKEX futures unfilled with Bitcoin liquidation. Can you demystify this FUD, or is it real? What is everybody talking about, and do you think it's relevant?
Okay, so I think a lot of people are new. I don't understand why people are freaking out. So this is more of, unregulated and competent exchanges doing something stupid. They allowed one person to have a really giant leveraged position, it didn't really matter which direction the position was in. In this case, the position was long. Clearly, the trader wasn't watching our show or Hyperwave. And they were long, and it looks like that giant leveraged futures position was liquidated, but because it was so big, they couldn't find buyers at the price of $8,000. If you scroll down a little bit, you see the liquidation point. A little further down, it's no, a little further down. Look for the number 8,000. Nope. No. Just scroll down. Scroll down. No, not that. Yep. Keep going. Keep going. There it is. 8,020. So that's the price where the position got liquidated at, from 8,020. So now all of these contracts are sitting there. So the price needs to get back to 8,020 by Friday, and for other people to buy up these contracts in order for this to go smoothly at expiration. Now, I'm not sure why people are actually panicking here, because those that have been trading back when I was trading in 2013 and 14, this system was developed by the first futures trading company in the crypto space, which was an exchange called 796. 796 doesn't exist anymore, or at least it doesn't exist in the same format anymore. And what 796 designed was this concept of socially, socially shared loss, something like that. It was something to that effect. So basically, if the price of Bitcoin on the exchange, on the futures exchange, is below 8,020, and the exchange has to eat the difference in the money, they have maybe, 10%, or maybe, 20, 30, I don't know how many Bitcoins they have in reserve in order for insurance. But once they blow through the insurance, remember, they're a centralized exchange. They're just going to cover their losses with the gains of the winners on the other side of those contracts. This is completely unaffected to the price of Bitcoin. The only people that don't understand this are probably people that have only been around this space for a year or two and aren't familiar with how these things got resolved back in 2013 and 2014 when we were trading on 796 exchange, and then OKCoin picked up the same concept. BitMax purposely did not do a socialized loss model, taking the winnings from the winners in order to cover their inability to properly liquidate positions, because they let one guy go too deep. And BitMax would sell your position in pieces instead. But that was also back when BitMax said they would never go above 3x leverage, and now they're at 100x leverage. So I'm not sure how BitMax deals with this, but BitMax is infinitely more liquid than this exchange is. So BitMax is probably able to get away with it. Traditional exchanges are way more efficient, and they don't have this problem. So this is not going to affect the price of Bitcoin at all. And the only thing this will do is, if you made a bunch of money on the other side of this trade, the exchange is going to just confiscate some of that money in order to cover the loss. This is not a big deal at all. This is how it's always been done by decentralized, unregulated places.
Right. And if you remember the story that we covered when OKEX rolled back their futures contracts after the liquidation left a lot of traders, even though one individual, unfortunately, that tried to commit suicide because he thought he had lost everything. Futures is kind of complicated trading if you don't know how to do it. But yeah, so, all right, well, we will find out in your TA, but that's true. All right, so Saifedean is coming to Washington, D.C. Sorry, I missed you guys. Giacomo, Rodolfo, did you have any comments about the future story?
No, not really. Not really.
No.
All right, cool. Okay, Saifedean is coming this Sunday. It has been established. Also, Tone is driving with Saifedean. Who knows what type of mischief they're going to get to. And so again, this is Sunday. It's been already said it's going to start at 5 p.m., go to 10 p.m. It's going to be amazing. Starting at 5 with welcome cocktails, lots and lots of fun. And then prior to that, there's going to be even more of an open book signing. So registration is up. It can only fit 36 people. So I recommend that you guys get tickets as soon as possible. So with that said, to you, Tone. Oh, we lost Rodolfo. Maybe he'll appear again. Sometimes he, goes in
There he
and
is.
out. Oh, there he goes again. Okay, hey, TA.
Yeah, we'll go to TA. I mean, if you guys want to stick around or not, feel free to give your closing thoughts and get going if you like. Up to you.
I'll do my usual. I'll watch the TA from privacy of no camera. Just two things. One is learn about USF. Like go to either Belcher's Gist or the USF website. Learn about it because this is not going to be the last time. Bitcoin is always going to be attacked. And two is we released the docs and the firmware for Cold Card online. So go check that out. And that's it.
Yay. And that's very, very true. Giacomo, do you want to put last thoughts on that too?
Yeah, on my side, there is not an announcement to give. I will meet everybody in September in Riga and on the cruise. And yeah, I agree that studying the history is very, very important. We could actually do more historical re-evocation during the shows. I mean, this was very, very important, but there are a lot of anniversaries that we could celebrate from the a lot of historical situation. So yeah, it was great.
I like that. Yeah, pizza day. That was, that was put in there. Definitely true. Hey, Rodolfo, stop being a show man. Just kidding. All right, Tone, TA.
Yes, TA.
We have some red bars.
What's today? Oh yeah, the new monthly candle is gonna come out tonight. Because this index only updates once a day, which is which makes it a little difficult to use. Otherwise, I'd use it more often. And got rejected by this monthly moving average, the 7-month moving average. Rejected it once again. You can see how 3 of the last 4 candles, the wick touches the 3 of the last 4 months. The wick touches the 7-month moving average, and then gets rejected. And your next levels of support based on a monthly chart are the Fibonacci line at about 4,800. And if we get there slowly, the 30-month moving average might come up immediately. Am I in black and white?
Your beautiful screen is not having too much fun. You're also on BLX?
Yes.
And we lost them, but they're going to come back.
All right, let's try this again. Yeah, I haven't had time to check my graphics cards. I don't know if it's me. I don't know if it's Zoom. I haven't had time to deal with it, unfortunately, but it's getting annoying. So
still beautifully black and actually just gray.
Fuck. So what do we do?
Do the TA in your head.
Yeah.
We can do a full trading show in a little bit.
We can try another stream. No, I got stuff to do.
Try it one more time.
Let's see.
Gray.
It's still gray?
Yeah. Do you want me to bring up Bitcoin? No, that's a bad idea. On my trading view. Okay.
I mean, my only option is to, this is actually a lot of people like these candles better because they're more suited for like colorblind people. This way, the inside isn't colored in, making them look the same.
Why don't you do bars?
Bars are going to be more complicated. I think this is better. Yeah. I was doing a screen share earlier in this podcast, and it worked. It was working out well. So I don't really know what to do about it. Maybe try your screen share for something, and then I'll take it over from there, or maybe it'll work.
You got it.
Yeah, yours is working. Hold on, don't do anything.
Okay.
Oh no, actually no, I don't know if it's working. It's working on my end. I don't know how it's gonna come
Oh,
out.
it's not. You have gray.
Still gray?
Yeah.
Still gray. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you guys. There's nothing we can do.
Do a trading show later.
Maybe. I know I have to.
Gray, so.
I know I got plans later, but anyway, so it'll be in black and white. Oh well, we'll have to deal with it. So that's the monthly chart, and the monthly, the next candle is going to open, and the last 24 hours have not been great, but that's already reflected at the end of this candle. It is a price flip. It is a price flip to a green 1. Would have been nice and clean to get a red 9 to the downside, but that it's not working out that way, so it'll be a little trickier to time. That's all. The again, this is the, you know what, let me adjust the wicks of the candles here. Make them green. Okay, so here is the weekly chart. The weekly chart got rejected pretty much by the death cross of the 30 versus the 50, and that's what we're looking at right now. It doesn't look very good. It looks like the price is ready to reverse all the way back to the downside. We have once again made a lower high, and we are probably making a new lower low. So I never walked away from my $5,000 call, and probably lower. Let's see what happens next. Basically, I'm still waiting for the price to trade below last week's candle, and preferably close below last week's candle to be 100% certain that the lower high is in. Bitcoin still has, a very, very tiny chance of making a sustainable low above 6,500. If Bitcoin can make a sustainable low above 6,500 and then get back above 8,500, I may consider calling a bottom of the bear market, but the probability of that happening is incredibly small, incredibly small. Here's the daily chart. The daily chart is now officially on a sell indication. Once you had the red 2 in the last 24 hours go below the red 1, it creates an environment where a short trade is completely reasonable in this regard. So that's what we're looking at now. By all metrics right now, Bitcoin is high probability. The risk reward is certainly favoring shorts. I like the fact that we daily topped on a 9, which makes sense because I really like this indicator. And we are now hovering in this $7,600 vicinity, which I believe is incredibly important. I've talked about the $7,600 vicinity from like October or September of last year, and I will continue to see it that way as really, really important. So I find it, I would be very surprised if Bitcoin does not go back to new lows. Like at this point, that's what the odds are favoring. Here's the 12-hour chart. The 12-hour chart is also below its support line. I said yesterday that it had to immediately turn around from the 77.50 area. We've fallen all the way to 74.50, and it's not looking good. The good news is you have support at the 50-period moving average, and your 9 in about a day and a half, maybe in about 2 days, just under 2 days. So if you can make it to a 9 and you can make a reversal candle right at the 50-period moving average on the 12-hour, we can then turn around, maybe back test the 77.50 area from the 72 area, get rejected by the 77.50, and then go lower. People keep asking me, hey, when is 5K? When is 5K? I don't have time to reply to every single troll. My answer is eventually. Okay, because I don't see how it's not going to come. Eventually, if it had happened 3 months ago, we could be working on new highs by now. But if it doesn't happen for another 19 months, you're going to have a really bad time in this bear market. Like the price is going to bottom where it bottoms. And the longer it takes to get there, the more frustration you are going to have. The fact that we did not hit $5,000 in early July, like I expected, is not a good thing. It's a bad thing. That means now we're going to hit 5,000, maybe in August, maybe in September. And guess what? The bear market is going to get stretched out. I wanted my low to come in early in the summer, so by end of year, what could potentially be in a bull market. Or you can hear me continue to talk about the bear market into January and saying, hey, we're going to keep going lower, instead of saying we bottomed in July. So just because we didn't hit the 5,000 when I expected it to, it's not necessarily a good thing unless you were able to properly trade it and make money on that. Here's the 1 hour chart. The 1 hour chart bottomed perfectly at the 9. The candle low came in the candle after, gave you a beautiful reversal candle, the candle following a 9 buy. That candle itself followed a 13 buy. And right now we're letting, it's stabilizing at the lows, which is not a good thing. The more time we spend at the lows, the higher the probability of a breakdown. Your CMF did go positive a little bit. That's not bad. You're just waiting for the moving averages to catch up, for a lot of the metrics to catch up, and then probably one more leg down. This is B-Trash. B-Trash is approaching its prior lows. This is not a good thing. The prior highs were lower than prior highs. It's, keep working on these triangles. B-Trash is stabilizing at 0.1. Looks like 0.1 continues to be defended. Eventually, those defending the peg are going to run out of money, and it's going to dump hard. And I mean hard. When this thing finally cracks, it can go from 0.1 to 0.05 in the blink of an eye. So just, be careful with that. The S&P looks like it's taking a little bit of a hit today. This is the weekly chart. Still looks good. The daily chart still looks good. Just taking its sweet time, moving to the top. Gold is having a tiny bit of a rebound, but it doesn't matter. I still think gold is pretty much done. You can almost put a fork in it. A new month just started, still holding this trend line. We'll see how long that lasts. Amazon is stabilizing at the lows. Facebook is, again, on a 5 of 9, waiting for that 9. So the short play on Facebook could have only taken place, right here. So this trade is back in the green, but not really all that profitable because of crazy earnings. Twitter, same thing. The short trade on Twitter takes place right below the lows of this 2 candle, and they're all red. All these 3 candles are red, and also on a 5 of 9, following the same path. So again, look for a 9. Maybe it'll stabilize there. That's pretty much it for me. No, that has nothing to do with it. That's it. I will be in Boston this Friday. I will be driving up there on Friday. I got to do a bunch of stuff. I got to go to my place in the woods tomorrow. And after that, I am in Vegas. I will be speaking at Chain Exchange with a lot of very prominent speakers. That's going to be great. I will be sticking around Vegas, not only for my workshop, but also a conference by Cointelegraph called Block Show. I'll be speaking there as well. Then Chicago. And after that, I'm gone from North America for the rest of the year. You can find me on the blockchain cruise in Amsterdam as well for a couple of conferences and meetups in Prague, in Latvia. I need to show that website. And here are the workshops, guys. 2 seats left in Vegas, so you may want to hurry up. A couple of seats left in Chicago, and still have a bunch of room in Boston. So check those out.
And Sunday.
Oh, and the dinner. So this is why I have to leave Boston Saturday night after my workshop and drive home. And then Sunday morning, drive Safedin down to DC for the big dinner, the big carnivore dinner. The $100 to attend that is unreasonably cheap. You guys have no idea how unreasonably cheap that is for the restaurant we're in. And thank you, Leah, for all the hard work and putting that together for us. And seats are limited. I mean, 36, like there's not going to be an expansion. We have a room of a certain size, and they're preparing a special meal for only 36 people. So if you really want to get on that.
We're hiding.
You're all hiding.
So are you guys gonna eat vegetables and fruits at this meal?
No,
No.
it's straight up carnivore. The restaurant has been informed.
Oh,
Aw.
look at Bitcoin baby.
Well, we are aligned, so maybe I will respect her privacy for a while.
Amazing, amazing. Yeah, on this one, you'll see it's actually really, really cool. There's 3 courses. They're actually going to do a strip loin. So at each table, they're going to strip off a steak. It's like incredible. They've created a dessert that is carnivore based. You will see what's going on. And then prosciutto Giacomo for the first course. It's going to be a lot of fun, but yes, jump on it. Okay. All right. Bye, Bitcoin baby. All right, everybody, thanks so much for watching. You can listen to this later on the audio podcast. And Rodolfo, thanks also for joining. Anniversary edition. Tone.
Bye, guys. It was a great
Sunday.
show. Well, we'll talk about beach trash again next year.
Next year. All right, bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.